In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to convert between different units. And then we'll also talk about the different types of units that we are going to use in this science class. So our question for today is just how do we take measurements? What type of units are we using when we're taking measurements? And then our learning target is we want to be able to convert between those different units. So the first thing is the different basic types of measurements, right, that we're gonna use in this class. And we've already been using a few of them. We've already used volume and mass in the accuracy and precision lab. So we are going to talk about the ways that we kind of take these measurements and specifically the units that we use. A number means nothing if there's no unit. If I just say it's 10, right, what do you mean? Is it 10 inches? Is it 10 centimeters? Is it 10 pounds? Right? We don't know what it is that you're saying without units, right? So units are very important. In science, we use something called the SI system or the international system. If you've noticed, right, or if you've ever been to another country or seen movies, right, in America, we use things like inches, foot, yards, and it has all these different numbers, right? It's hard to remember that there's 5,280 feet in a mile. It's hard to remember how many ounces are in a pound and how many cups are in a quart, right? It's all those different conversion factors are a little bit confusing. In science, and the rest of the world uses the international system or the SI system. Here, all of our units are based on this number 10. So there's no remembering random numbers. It's all based on 10. So whereas we use yard and inch to measure length, the rest of the world uses meter, right? So in our class, we are going to use the SI system. We will never use pounds to weigh something. We will never use inches to measure something. We will always use Celsius or Kelvin for temperature. Okay, and as we get further into the class and we start to use some of these units more, you'll get used to using them, and it'll be easy to kind of forget about, our typical ways of measuring. So the reason that it makes it so easy for the SI system is because everything's based on 10, we're not really having to change much about the number. We're simply just changing how large or how small the number is. And the way that we do that is we can use prefixes. So if you've ever heard, I'm sure you've heard of these prefixes before, at least most of them, right? Milliliters versus like a 3-liter bottle, right? We know that a liter is the big thing, and then milliliter is small, right? And then we know that kilo, when we put kilo in front of something, that makes it sound bigger. So our prefixes, as we kind of go up, we're increasing in amount, right? The amount that we have. So what we really want to focus on is how we're going to convert between these different units. So in your notes, I think yours is already filled out, but the way that I like to remember it, and if you want to kind of write this down on your notes somewhere, that's fine too. Remember, this is King Henry. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so I can write easier. This is died. And then you might have remembered drinking chocolate milk, right? This part is the part that you probably skipped over. I usually throw in the word unusually. Okay, spelling is not my strong suit. So King Henry died unusually drinking chocolate milk. All right, so then if I want to think about my ladder, I can just fill in my main letters. King Henry died. This is unusually, right, my unit, drinking chocolate milk. Okay, so what do these letters really stand for? Well, the K is kilo, deca, and then we have our main unit. This is like our gram, right? 1 gram, 1 liter, what else? 1 meter. Okay, that's our base unit. And then we have our little things, deci, centi, and milli. Okay, and I think I threw in an extra L there. So now that we have our chart filled in, let's talk about how we're going to use it. Okay, so anytime we're converting between these prefixes, since they're all base 10, we're not really having to do anything fancy except for either multiply by 10 or divide by 10, or what's easiest for me is just to move the decimal. Okay, so let's talk about what that means. So here's one example. This, you don't have to write anything down for this, or just kind of watch, or if you want to write it on your notes, that's fine. Okay, so we're starting with 4 kilometers right here. Okay, and it's asking us to convert to meters. So that means I'm going to start up here at kilo, and I want to convert to just my basic unit. Notice how this is just one letter, right? Little 1M does not mean milli, right? If I had a millimeter, it would have 2 M's, right? If you say it out loud, think about how many times you're saying the words, right? So if it's just one letter, it's going to be here, right? Meters, liters, grams. So I know it's going to take me 1, 2, 3 jumps or steps to get to that basic unit of meters. So then I know I really only need to move my decimal 3 times. So right now, right, we know the decimal's invisible, but it's at the end of the number. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to move it 3 times. And then I think of these like little baskets that need a little egg in them, right? So now my new number is 4,000 meters. Okay. Let's look at a couple together. Okay, so we'll do a couple of these. We may not do all of them. We'll just kind of see how it goes. All right, so let's see. Let's look at the first one, 1,000 milligrams. And again, I'm just going to grams. So I think about, okay, where am I starting? I'm starting at milli, and I need to go to grams. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, right? Because remember, our basic units are right here, single letters. So I did 3 steps this way, right? 3 steps to the left. So that means I'm going to make my decimal move 3 steps to the left. So remember, our decimal's at the end. We just can't see it. So I'm going to do 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. So now my new decimal is right there. So I can rewrite my number as 1.000 grams, or 1 gram. Okay, let's look at the next one. I have liters to milliliters. So here I'm starting at my base unit, right, of liters, and I'm trying to go to milliliters. So how many steps is that? 1, 2, 3. So this time I went 3 to the right. So that means now I'm going to move my decimal 3 places to the right. So here's the 1 now, right? And remember, there's an invisible decimal at the end. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So there's my new decimal. I have to fill in my goose eggs. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then there's my decimal. Okay, 1,000. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at centimeters to millimeters. Okay, so centi to milli, that's just 1 step to the right. So that means I just need to move my decimal place 1 step to the right. So I'm going to write it down here so I can actually see. So there's my decimal, right? It's at the end, it's invisible. I'm going to move it here to the right. I give myself 1 goose egg. So my new number is 1,600. okay? The bottom half is just kind of on the other side. It says we're starting at kilometers and we're going to meters. So remember, there's just one thing. That's just my basic unit. So if I'm starting at kilo, 1, 2, 3, 3 steps to the right. That means I need to move my decimal 3 steps to the right. So there's my decimal right at the end. It's invisible. 1, 1, 2, 3. There's my new decimal. I can fill in my goose eggs. So now I have my final answer, 14,000. Okay. Let's pretend, okay, let's change one of these and kind of give us one that's a little bit different. Instead of this being 109, so I'm going to kind of cross this out, and you can do this on your notes too. Let's say it's 1.09. Okay, so I have 1.09 grams, and I need to go to kilograms. So remember, gram is just a basic unit. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So I went 3 steps to the left. So that means I have to move this decimal 3 steps to the left. 1, 2, 3. Fill in my goose eggs. Oh, whoopsie, I got too many goose eggs. There we go. Because see, my 1 is sitting in this little loop right here. But then I had this little loop and this little loop that needed a 0. So my final answer is 0.00109. Okay, so wherever the decimal is, that's where you start. You don't have to do any fancy things at the beginning. And then just count how many times you move and move your decimal. Okay, if you jumped to the left, make sure you move your decimal to the left. If you jump to the right, you move your decimal to the right. Okay, so try a few of these on your own. If you want to work with a partner, that's fine. If you want to just try some by yourself, it is up to you.